Topic 30 is trans enough. This concept of trans enough really bothers me, primarily because it, first of all, is a way to cut down others in your own community. It's a way to establish a hierarchy reminiscent of what you might see in cisgender experience. It's inherently transphobic. It perpetuates the idea that there's a gender binary and that anybody who falls somewhere in between that either isn't actually trans or is lesser. And that really bothers me. I don't think that this is a constructive ideology to have within our community at all. It bothers me so much that a community that is so oppressed would then turn around and oppress people within it, and that people would be so concerned with being enough of a man or enough of a woman, which, we're basically, this sort of ideology is adopted from other communities. It's not exclusive to the trans community. It's adopted from male community, the female community, the heteronormative ideologies that exist within our society. You'll see it as well in the gay community, the lesbian community, bisexual, everywhere. It just seems to be everywhere. It just unfortunately seems to be a lot more harsh in the trans community because we are a smaller community. I think a lot of our interaction occurs online, which is good and bad, because if you are somebody who's in a very rural area, online might be the only way you can connect with some people. So in that one way, it's fantastic because you don't feel alone and you have people you can connect with. But on the other hand, you might run into people who say, "Oh, well, you aren't enough of a man, so you're not really a trans guy," or "You aren't enough of a woman, so you can't be a trans woman." Sort of this entire, I don't know. So I guess it just, to me, is really sad. That's probably the best word for it. It's sad. It's disappointing. I really would like to see this be something that fizzles out, and just for us to accept that other people are going to present in different ways, and the fact that they don't present as like some butch macho guy doesn't mean they aren't trans. Their transgender encompasses all kinds of identities, all kinds of gender presentations, and the only thing I can feel that it would stem from is people feeling threatened, like feeling like their experiences are undermined by other people who identify as trans but don't necessarily present as the stereotypical perception of what that gender should be. I've had a lot of friends approach me about this, and I just kind of have to accept that they have a different perspective than I do, and also hope that maybe one day they'll come around to it, because to me it just seems kind of counterintuitive. The entire point of, like, some of the very basic things about transition are that you don't fit into a box, and this is a big thing we always talk about, is these boxes, these labels, female, male. What do you write down on your ID or on a form for something? And then we go around and say, "Oh, well, hey, that person's not wearing like baggy clothes, or they don't talk with a deep enough voice, or something like that, so they can't really be trans. They can't really be a man." And it's just so oppressive, and it just totally contradicts what we're always fighting for and fighting against and fighting for. And that I really believe that gender is fluid, and sexuality is fluid. So, and this is just trying to say that you know, people shouldn't express themselves as they truly are, and that's really kind of awful. I mean, you have, this is it, this is life, and if you are happy identifying as male but being what, you know, enacting what would be considered feminine characteristics, then have at it. If you want to transition but you don't want to go on hormones or have surgery, good for you. I can only imagine how difficult that would be to have people respect your identity. But that would be really difficult. If you don't want to be either gender, fantastic. That doesn't mean you're not trans. You may not identify as trans, but the transgender umbrella does include gender neutral and sort of all that. And I also think that everybody has the right to self-identify. Nobody should be able to tell you who you are, how to behave, all of that. It's kind of like when you're looking at the gay community, there's a lot of transphobia that they experience too, because gay men, effeminate gay men, or flamboyant gay men, are considered not to be men because they aren't masculine enough, right? So that's sort of what I was getting at earlier with, like, the gay community. Are you in a strange way, there's like the are you gay enough, but then also are you masculine enough? So you'll see like hyper masculine guys in the gay community, and it's very prominent in Toronto, I think. And yeah, this is kind of like garbled, but I think you know what I'm getting at, that there's so much transphobia everywhere, and the last thing we need is to have it coming from our own community, when really what we're all trying to do is be ourselves and be happy and live fulfilling lives, which everybody should have the right to. And you know, I think that's what we should be fighting for. We shouldn't be fighting against each other. We should be fighting so that everybody, trans or not trans, can be themselves. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say. I'm sorry it wasn't very linear. It was just kind of word vomit. But hopefully it made sense. I'll see you soon.